All right, so in this tutorial, we are going to be looking at inputs in Unity. So we'll look at mouse, keyboard, and also joystick inputs. So I will begin by creating uh, a sprite, just a square sprite. So I'll be using this uh, um, to change colors to show off my inputs. So the next thing I'm going to do is just add a little script. Let's call this my mouse input. And I'm going to attach to the square. Hasn't compiled yet. I'm running a bit too fast. Okay. Okay. So make sure the tick is on, because once that happened, that means all of the scripts have compiled and they can be added to objects. So here we go. I'm going to open the script. So first we're going to start with the mouse input, right? And we're talking about runtime. So immediately you can delete start function, because start function is only called on the first frame of the object. And, you would not want to make any inputs on the first frame. That's I've never seen the use of that. So let's just begin with an update function. Inside of here, I'm going to do a simple thing. So let's do a mouse input. So I just want to be able to click anywhere on the screen. So if we need to start with input dot get mouse button down. So if I'm pressing the mouse button, and you'll notice here mouse button 0, so that's a left click. Then what I'm going to do is change the sprite color. So I'm going to access my sprite renderer, and I'm going to change the sprite color to red, color.red. Here we are. So it's a simple if statement. We're just checking if I'm pressing left um, button of my mouse. And if I do that anywhere on the screen, then the object should turn red. So here we are. Yep, so that happens anywhere on the screen. So just to show it to you maybe in more detail, I'm gonna do on mouse button down. So this is when I just clicked on the button, so it's a single frame. And I'll do a similar thing, but I'll do also on mouse button up, which is when I release the key, the button. And I'm gonna make my object white again in this case. So let's save this, switch back to Unity, make sure everything's compiled. We won't see that tick here. And so I'm clicking, see anywhere on the screen, and I'm getting the input, right? So if you want to click on the screen and you want to detect a button, this is how you would do it. So next thing I will do is let's do, I think, a continuous input. So you can get a mouse button like this. So I'll turn it red, and also I will just rotate it so we can see when I'm rotating something. So transform.rotate, and I'm going to rotate it on um, Z axis while I'm pressing the button. So here we are. Press play. And see, I'm pressing button, release, pressing, release, pressing, release. And again, you can see the object is staying red because nothing is telling it to turn to its original color. So now that we have tried these functions, let's go back to on mouse button down. So when I just clicked the button, and just want to quickly show you what happens if I press left button, right button, and also middle click. So when you click on the drum wheel. So we'll do it this way. So get component sprite renderer, and let's make color. Sorry. So sprite renderer dot color, and I'll make the color red. So this is my left button. We can even add a comment. Left mouse button. Then I will just copy and paste that. And this is going to be button 1. So that's right mouse button. And in this case, I'm going to make my color green. And then I'm going to copy and paste that one more time. And this is going to be middle click. I'm going to make it blue. So let's save that, save it, Go back here, make sure everything compiles. And now I'm going to press play and press left button. So we have red. Then I'm pressing right button. It's blue. And then I'm pressing middle click. And middle click did not work. Let me just see if yeah, so I made a little mistake here. I never changed this to 2. So again, so 0 corresponds to left mouse button, 1 corresponds to right mouse button, and 2 corresponds to middle click. So let's save that. So save that. I'll make sure it compiles, and let's see if it works this time. So left click, right click, middle click. We got it. So I can switch colors by pressing my mouse buttons. Right, so this is working. Next, we are going to move on to changing position of our object based on um, the cursor position. So I'm going to quickly remove this. Again, we're using update function because we're only interested in runtime. And I am going to create a variable. So vector free. So this is going to be called mouse position. And my mouse position is going to be camera dot main dot. So this is very important things you get right. So it is a screen to world point, right? So it is this one, right? So there are different options, but we're only interested in this one. And then inside of here, we are just going to get our input and mouse position. Right, so currently we are storing our mouse position in here. Yeah. So this is a good start, but we also need to actually apply our position to an object. So I'm going to take my transform position and apply my mouse position to the object on each frame. So you can see each frame we're getting position of the cursor and then applying it. So getting position, applying position to, well, rather mouse position to the object. So 2 things are going on here. So I'm going to save that. Now, when I'll press play, so hopefully it works, but something unusual will happen here. Right, so you can see I'm moving my mouse, so object has disappeared in my game view, but it does seem like it's working in the scene view, right? So what's going on here? So I'll try to explain this way. Here's my camera, right? And if I'll quickly switch to 3D mode, you will notice that the object is here, right? So it is actually there, but it's clipping with the camera's frostrum, so I'm not actually able to see it. So a quick way of fixing that is simply extending your camera frostrum into negative values, right? So that way you'll be able to see kind of like behind your camera, behind your like eyes, if you like to think of it this way. But a better way of doing this is keeping the object where it is, because it's currently, its position is 0, 0, 0 on a X, Y, and Z. But we can just create our custom offset, because normally when you're building a game, you do want all of your objects to kind of start on a origin. So let's take a look at this. So this is the origin, and if I press play, it drags the object forward to the camera, which is, it is working, but it's not quite what we want. So what I suggest you do for this is instead of offsetting, so creating, or rather changing your frostrum clipping plane. So instead of doing that, create an offset instead. So I'm going to make a new vector free, going to call it offset, and give it the actual value. And I'm just going to make it 10. So here's my offset, right? Because, so where am I getting this value from? My camera is positioned at -10, right? So it's 10 units away from the center of the stage. So this is what I'm going to use to recenter it. So here's the value, and I'm going to place it just after here. So I'm going to add plus offset. So hopefully, if the math is correct, this should work. Yep, it is working. So you can see now the object is actually staying in the center of the scene, and it's not affected by the camera. So I can actually go back to the view. So this is yeah, like a nice way of making your object move um, towards the cursor. Right, so the next thing you might want to do is have a little bit of delay. So when you move your object, uh, we can move it a little bit slower. So to add a delay, we are going to add a lerp function. So here's my position. So transform.position is equals to vector3 dot lerp. So lerp is linear interpolation. And we are going to go from my current position, so transform.position, to mouse position. And we also need a third value, which is the amount of the delay. So for that, first things first, I'm going to use time.delta time. And for now, I'll just multiply it by a value like 10. Right, so that looks like a lot, but it does make sense. So we're just going from this position to this position in like these increments. So I'm going to save that. Let's compile our code. Okay, so we can see we have a delay. So next thing is, we can make this into a speed variable. So I'm going to make a floating point value. So float speed, and let's set it to maybe 10 by default. And I'm going to copy it and paste it here. So now this value is changeable. So let's press play. So here's my square working. I can now jump in and potentially change it. So in order for me to see this value in the inspector, it needs to be public. So let's make it public. And also, like, I'm gonna just duplicate this a few times and give them different speeds. So this is gonna be 1, let's say 5, and 10 is fine here. Right, so you can see objects are following me with different speed. So next, we are going to take a look at scrolling. But before I do that, I'm just quickly going to save this code for later because I will need it. So I'm going to just make it so mouse position. I'm going to remove this. So later on, when we'll be looking at the drag and drop function, this will come useful. Just delete this and just gonna save it for later. So this can be commented out. And I'm gonna start with just another update function right now. So inside of update function, I'm going to add scrolling functionality. So to make something scroll, we need to add, so have input dot mouse scroll delta, and make sure that you use a y value, and we will need to apply that somewhere or um, store it somewhere. So before we do that, it's a good idea to create a variable. So for example, float scroll y value. So now when we are, so we can store this value and do something with it. So for example, a rotation. So transform dot rotate 0, 0, and I'm gonna pass in a scroll value inside of here. So let's save this. Just clear this up so you don't see it. So this is all is happening inside of update. We're just checking what is our scrolling value is, and we're passing it into rotation. So I'll press play now, and what you'll notice is the object won't rotate that much. So here we go. Like it's a little bit hard to get rotating. I have to really scroll my mouse wheel. So again, for that, we can also add a speed value. So let's say if it's 10, so this can start rotating a little bit faster. right? So this is much faster. Additionally, you could also change the value, the way it's stored. So currently it's storing its raw value. So whatever is coming in, so it's either positive or negative input. So +1 or -1 or 0 if I'm doing nothing. But I can make it incremental. So it will store the value. See, if you keep scrolling up, so giving positive value, it'll go from 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll just keep on incrementing. So let's save that and see the effect. So this is quite useful for this particular function. It's spinning really fast. I think I scrolled this way too hard. Yeah, so you can see it's scrolling. I think, yeah, in this case I'll have to slow it down a bit. So I'll divide it by 10. So here we are, rotating, rotating. So if you need this effect, this is how you would achieve it, this incremental. And also, you can have some other function where maybe it slows it down. Okay, here we are. Now, so the next thing we're going to look at is mouse, so clicking on the object itself, right? So we, clicked on the screen, we have used the scroll wheel, we tried different buttons. Now we're going to click on the object itself. So Unity actually has functions for this. So you can write this on mouse down, and you can see it will also complete it for you. So this just goes inside of a class. And we can detect whether you press an object or not. So let's say if I press on the object, I'm going to change its sprite color to red, color, and then color dot red. So let's do it this way. So again, this object here contains the scripts. I'm going to just duplicate it a few times. Let's have a few of them like this. So now I'll press play, and nothing will happen when I click on it, or the object, because I have not attached a very important component, right? So when we are working uh, with, so if you want to click on the object and you want it to do something, we need to define the space of the object, right? So a very important step that I've missed so far is adding a collider, right? So you can go to Physics 2D and give it a box collider, right? So again, when you're working with different shapes, like circle, you can give it a circle collider, capsule collider. There are a lot of different options. I'm just gonna go with a box collider here. And yeah, so now it has a space that I can click on, so the object will actually respond. So here we go. So I click here, nothing. I click on the object, it's red. And again, so let me just duplicate it a few times. So if I had a bunch of them, so they will all respond to me one by one because they all have colliders and they all have that script. So now we have, so we tried this functionality on mouse down. Again, that works in a single frame when you are just pressing the button, so it's single frame. And then, so let's do on button up. So when I release the key, so on button up, and I'm going to turn my object green. Okay, so when I'm pressing down, it's going to be red. When I'm releasing the button, it's going to become green. So here we go. So again, nothing is happening here. I press down, I release, press down, release. Right, so now we can have like selection of different objects. So this is quite useful functions. Now I'm also going to show you on mouse over and on mouse exit. So this is useful if you want to hover over your objects. So I'm just going to rewrite this. So on mouse over and on mouse exit. So this is kind of like hovering functionality. So press play. And you can see it's working in a similar way, but this time I'm not clicking on anything. It's detecting that the cursor is over the object based on the functionality that I've written here. So we have covered all of this. So next option you might want to add is on mouse drag, so drag and drop option. So this is going to be done this way. So on mouse, so this will be my dragging functionality. So that basically, so Unity will detect if I'm clicking and dragging an object, right? So last time we had our update function, and inside of update function we are moving object to the cursor, right? This time I'm gonna bring this back up here, but I'm only going to run it inside of on mouse drag function. So here's my needed variables, and here I'm going to grab this. So obviously I'm not using update function anymore. Why did it paste like that? What happened here? Okay, here we go. And yeah, update can go because we no longer need it. So this is why I saved it. So again, this is our previous, function that moved our object to the cursor. So I'm going to save this. Let's play. Now, when I click and drag on the object, it will move to the position of my cursor. So again, we can also maybe give it some color. So let's do get component, sprite, renderer, and let's do color dot red when I'm moving it. In fact, let's do it this way. When I hover over the object, it's going to become red, and when I leave the object, it's going to become um, white again. So on mouse, enter. So this is my hovering over function. I'm going to move code, this piece of code down right now. So all I'm doing is holding Alt key and just pressing down, right? So I just moved it like that. And I'm going to copy and paste this. So this is going to be exit, and this is going to be white. Right, so we have our drag and drop functionality. We have our, so this is where we change color. So if my cursor is over the object, it's going to be red. If my cursor left the object, then it's going to be white. So here we go. So I'm clicking here, nothing is going on. So here it's kind of like telling me that the object is selectable. Now I'll click and drag, and I can move it. And then the color changes back to white. So you can see with just a little bit of code, you can already start making little interactive experiences. So that's about it for the mouse section. Now I'm going to talk about keyboard inputs. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to go back to my script, and yeah, we'll just remove all of that, and I'm going to bring back my update function. So again, we just have my class and my update, and also we're only interested in update function because you cannot change anything on start because it's a single frame. Now I'm going to do a simple keyboard input. So the way it's done, we need to write an if statement. If input dot get key down. So again, this is a press. And as I'm pressing it, I can select different buttons. So in this case, I'm going to use space, but the entire keyboard is available here. The entire keyboard is available. So I'm going to press space. So when I'm pressing space, I'm going to change my object's color to red. Sprite renderer dot color, and then color is red. Save all of this. Okay, now pressing play. Again, make sure you are in the game view, because if you're not in the game view, this will not work. And now I'm just simply going to press spacebar, and the object is red, right? So it's turning red and it's staying red because we told it to turn red when I press the key down. So similar to the mouse button, we can also have a key up function, or if statement rather. So I'm going to turn that to up, and I'm going to make this, let's say, white. Save, press play. So now if I'm holding space, it's going to be red. If I'm releasing it, it's white. Hold, release, hold, release. And just for fun, we can make it into different buttons. So this can be A button, and this can be B button. So A and B. So now I have to press A to activate my object, and B to deactivate it. So here we go. If I were to press space, nothing happens. If I press A, it's going to be red and it's going to stay red. And if I press B, it's going to like change the color again, right? So I'm just pressing A and B right now. So this is how you would do that, and this is how you access different keys. So again, on get key down and on get key up, so these are single frame interactions, right? So they only happen once. If you want to have continuous input, we would write simply get key, right? And that's going to be as long as I'm holding the key down, we are going to have our interaction. So I'm going to change my button back to space. So holding key down, maybe space key down. And to show that, to demonstrate that, I'm going to use rotation. So transform.rotate 0, 0, 1. Save that. So here we are. So if I'm holding the key, so see I didn't write down or up, I just said get key. So as I'm getting it, I'm going to be rotating my object. So pressing space, rotates, I release space, it stops. Press, release. Now we can also check if I'm not pressing the space key. And this can be quite important in your games because if the player is not pressing a certain key, you can notify the player that maybe they should press a key, or maybe something happens if you don't press a particular key. And so a few ways of doing it. So you can copy and paste this and check if this is true. So here, so by default, so if we're not checking comparing it to truth, then it's true by default. But we can also check if it's false. So if it's not happening, then we are rotating it maybe into a negative value. So this is one way of doing this. So I'm going to press play, and it's going to start rotating on its own. I'm not pressing a single button. And now if I press space key, it rotates the other way. So hopefully you can see that. Another kind of like alternative way of doing this is you can simply write an else statement, and you can copy and paste this here. So this is maybe like a little bit cleaner. And let's make it negative again. So what this is doing is it's checking if the space key is pressed, and if not, so otherwise, I'm going to rotate it in like different direction. So again, same effect, slightly cleaner code. We have again access to our entire keyboard. You can play with this. We have, just to show you, so we have arrow keys, down keys, so you can W, A, S, D, all of that is here. If you want to use any of the numbers above the letters, you would use alpha. So it's alpha 0, 1, 2, 3. And then I think for numpad, you simply use, let me just find it. Oh, sorry. Let me find it. So these are alpha keys. So these are above your letters. And then if you want to use, so your function key is also available. And if you want to use your numpad, it should be somewhere here. There is a keypad. That's what it is. Right. So we're gonna be moving on, and now I will do axis input. So axis input is slightly different to what we had so far. So axis input will be stored. And think of axis input like when you're pressing left and right on your joystick, or if you're pressing A and D on your keyboard. So it's more of an axis that goes from -1 to 1, rather than a button. Or same thing with triggers on your controller when you press left and right. It's, there's a continuous value change. It's not just true or false. It's changing continuously. So let's do that by adding a variable. So float, make it public. So public float. So this is going to be my x input. And inside of here, I'm going to again store my x input. So input dot get access, and I'm going to write horizontal. So it's important you write it this way. I'll explain to you in a moment what this means. But here I'm just storing my input, and well, let's just save it and see the values. So here's my values, right? So it's 0 by default. Now I'm going to press play, and I'm going to press left, and you can see the value will slowly change to -1. And then if I release the key, it's going to change to 0. And if I press right, it's going to go to 1, right? So we kind of have our values slowly changing from left to right. And this will also immediately work with my joystick, so I have my controller plugged in here. So if I'm pressing left, it's going -1. If I'm pressing right, it's going +1, right? So hopefully you can hear it. So again, this works with AD and left and right, and also your joystick. So now that we know the values are working, they're changing, let's add it to, let's say, rotation. So transform dot rotate. Let's place my X input here. Here we go. So left, release, right, release. Right, so I'm changing my rotation using my input. So this is how you can use the axis. So now let's do something slightly different. Instead of rotation, I'm going to use translation, which is movement, and I'm going to pass it into X. I keep my Y and Z on 0. So let's press play and see what happens here. Okay, so now I'm pressing left. Oh, so it jets it off, so it's going really fast. So I'm pressing left and right, and I'm able to move my object. So again, if object is moving too fast, it's a good idea to add a speed variable. So public float speed. Again, by default, I usually set my values to 1 because anything multiplied by 1 is the value itself. So it makes it easy for me to control it. And now, since I know the value is too fast, I'm going to reduce it to, let's say, 0.1. Okay, so yeah, now it's actually visible. So we have our input for left and right, and the object is moving on the screen. So let's do the same thing for our Y input. Right, so I'm just adding Y input, and I'm going to store it here. So input dot get access. I'm going to type in vertical, and I'm going to multiply it by speed. If you want to have a different speed for your Y input, you can. You can just create a new variable. I'm just using the same one for now. And I'm going to take this input and apply it on my Y-axis. So let me save this. Okay, now press play. Okay, so it goes left, right, up, and down. And this is working with WASD. This is working with up, down, left, right arrows, so directional pad. And this is also working with my joystick. So my controller is actually running this. So now let's just quickly take a look at like what these strings mean, like where they're coming from, right? So just for the simplicity's sake, I'm going to remove this back to a single variable, so it's there's less code on screen. So I'm going to remove my Y input. So we only have X input, and we are getting our X input from horizontal axis, multiplying it by speed, and passing it into our translation, right? So let's just check that that is still working. So here we go, play. So left, right. So the object is moving, right? So if I were to write here something different, so I'm just gonna write my name. Okay, Jan. So if I wrote Jan axis, see what happens, right? So it's clearly something I just invented just now, right? So let's press play. Here we go, and I don't know if you can see it here, but I have an error. It says argument exception, input axis Jan is not set up, right? So that's interesting. So horizontal and vertical was set up, but Jan is not set up, and it's even telling us where to go and look for it. So the changes of input settings are here. So edit settings input. So okay, let's find it. So edit project settings. Here we go, and then we are going to our input. So edit so graphics input manager. There it is. And then so when you click on here, it's kind of like not much is visible. So you can just click on a triangle to extend it. Here we go. And you will see our axis. So we have horizontal, we have vertical. Uh, so this is where these names were coming from, right? So if I was to change my horizontal input to Jan, right? Now my code will actually work. So let me just leave that here for a bit. So I'm going to press play, and I'm going to press left and right, and it's actually working, right? So Unity has kind of like default values already set up for you. So we have all of these inputs. So I'm going to just change it back horizontal. Sorry, horizontal. There we go. So I'm going to copy this, place it back in, because now we know where it's coming from. And I just want to show you like other things that are going on here. So we have our horizontal input. So this is the name of it, and this is what happens. I can press left and right. So this is negative and positive button, and I can also press A and D, right? So I can change any of these buttons to whatever they need to be. So for example, if I had a game where you have to press O and P to go left and right, you can change it here, right? So I'm just gonna bring it back to A and D. Another thing you will notice, so this is my keyboard input, right? If you scroll down a little bit, you will notice that horizontal and vertical input, they actually repeat. So there's another version of this, but this is used for joystick. So this is for joystick input. So it's quite interesting. It has the same name, so that means your left and right keys on the keyboard are going to work, but also your joystick controller will work because it refers to the same name, right? So if you are ever not sure how to find, horizontal input or vertical input, or which fire button is which, um, you can always so go on the little helper website that I made. So let me just type that in. So on Jan itch, I made a controller support, which is this. And so let's say my horizontal input is this. So if I'm pressing AD, so this is what that would look like uh, in a game. So you can always find which, joystick button or axis corresponds to what. So this is x-axis, right? And in Unity, you will see if I look on my joystick, so these are x-axis, right? So if I want to control my game with, let's say, triggers, so that's third axis, right? So let's quickly change it to triggers. So third axis is here. I'm going to press play. So again, I can move left and right, but also if I pick up my joystick, so this time I'm pressing triggers. So I'm actually pressing triggers. Hope you can hear that. It is working out of the box. So this is great. So we now know that we can, connect any joystick, any controller, including things like, a dance pad. I think last thing to show you is to make something controllable with a button input. So to do that, so I'm going to quickly remove this, so to remove any confusion. Yeah, we don't really need any variables for this. It's going to work in a really similar way to how we have our keyboard input. So write if statement if input dot get. So this time is button, right? So if you're using keyboard, it's get key down, right, and so on. But if it's a joystick input, then we're using get button. And let's do get button down. So if I press, let's say, jump, right? Then I'm going to turn my sprite red. So get component sprite renderer dot color. I'm gonna set my color to red. There we are. And yeah, we can have it, if I release the key, so on button up, here we are. I'm gonna make my object white again. So save this. Again, if you're not sure what the jump button is, you can take a look what it corresponds to. So in this case, it's a so joystick button 3. So which is joystick button 3. It's here. So it's triangle or Y depending on the controller you're using. And it also corresponds to, what is it? Spacebar. Okay, so let's try that. Pressing play, and I'm pressing, so this is spacebar. Okay, so pressing the button. Now on my joystick, I'm gonna press Y, and it's working, right? So yeah, you can do that, and this, by the way, works on like any input system. So you can even connect things like DDR pad or like any other types of joysticks. It works out of the box. So just last thing, if you want to have multiple joystick controllers, you can. So Unity, I think, natively supports four joysticks out of the box, and the way you do that, you just write. So let's say if I want input from joystick 1, you write joystick 1 here, and you would also need to define it here. So if I'm making some input for joystick 2, I can copy and paste this, and then as you do that, you write joystick 2 and you select joystick 2 here, and that should work. Okay. So yeah, good luck with your inputs and joysticks controllers. So I hope this video helps you.